So I don't know. Do you want to maybe take this time to like just sort of introduce some of the what you're doing there to the Chiron Cave, the 2 listeners we have?
Yeah, to
that
the
already
2
know,
listeners.
but who knows? It's a year from now, and we have 1,000 listeners.
Exactly, right, because it's like the YouTube videos that I watch that do like tarot. It's like my guilty pleasure. Like you mentioned the show that you watch. Well, mine is to go on and watch tarot readers because I love to see the different multiplicities of the way that they combine card meanings. Like I've probably thrown tarot cards a bazillion jillion times in my life since I got my tarot deck at 19, but you still get different combinations and then different readers in the way that they interpret them. But anyway, they'll read it and they'll read it as if they're reading to you. And I believe in synchronicity. So I do think if I tune in and I hear a reading and I connect with those symbolic meanings, I'm going to probably gain some kind of insight. But it's also like interesting just to see how they do it from a technique point of view. But they'll say this, whenever you're finding this video is when you're supposed to get it. So it's a timeless reading, and it's like when we have our episodes, if 1,000 people listen in a year, it's a timeless episode. So it'll hopefully still be relevant or important. But really the only thing, I happen to have my book in front of me because we were talking about the lower half of Chiron's Cave. I have my, one of my Kundalini yoga books, but the lower half of Chiron's Cave being
of Chiron.
Right. Right. Thank you. Yeah.
We're not going in the dungeon of Chiron's Cave.
Yeah.
We're going to keep that locked for now. I don't want to scare people. The chains and shit we got hanging down
like,
there.
is it time to take them into the bottom half of the cave?
Yeah, don't tell them about the Iron Maiden.
Can we take them?
No, we're not. We can't start putting our devotees into the Iron Maiden yet.
Oh my God. My face is red. That's hilarious. Yeah. So Chiron.
But on the real, we don't have a dungeon in Chiron's Cave.
No, there is no dungeon that we know of.
Yeah.
It could open up and we could be in Hades before you know it. Beware.
There may be a wormhole or a vortex or something like that, but in the back of the cave, maybe?
Yeah, back of the cave. Speaking of timelessness, you have to be outside of time to actually access the portal. So you're good.
Yeah, that's where Hestia's flaming phallus is located, by the way.
That's right. And there's a dance happening with Hades. But so I guess
now we've scared all the Christian listeners away.
Yeah, no, they have reason to stay because, we need difference in order to create meaning. But yeah, I think the only thing that I really was thinking about with regards to how is Kundalini yoga and what I do as a Kundalini yoga teacher, how is that connected to what we would think of as the material aspect, maybe, or the physical aspect of Chiron as a healer, right? Because I think that's where, for me, the idea of even the chakras, and have you done yoga, breath work, meditation?
Not as such. I've done a lot of different types of meditating in my life, and mostly I would say like transcendental or like meditations from like the I don't even remember. I can't even remember how to say it, but it's Tibetan Buddhism. Jojin. I don't know how to say it. I never learned how to say it.
Oh,
Have you ever seen that? The Tibetan Buddhist school of Buddhism. It's like DZCHOZEN or something like that.
Yeah, but I don't know how to say it.
And then and then through the occult stuff, like work through meditations with like Kabbalah or like meditations in like the Druid tradition, like more discursive meditations than anything. And then I've done a lot of stuff with like lucid dreaming and astral travel and out of body experience and meditating like in that kind of way, but not really so much in an Indian like yogic, which most of that stuff comes from that anyway, right?
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. And that's interesting. I didn't know. That sounds like you've done some pretty interesting stuff there with that.
Yeah, mostly like in the Western occult traditions, though, like for magical purposes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Well, and I guess the reason, part of why I asked that beforehand is that we talk about, I use the chakra system as a way of maybe grounding or orienting the understanding of what we do in our physical body and how it connects to the higher states of understanding or consciousness or spirituality. So like there's a very physical aspect of yoga, and Kundalini yoga specifically works on all 8 of like Patanjali's 8 limbs of yoga, which if anybody has practiced yoga, this is the entire spectrum of body and mind as a whole system. But
So it's like the master Kundalini, or the master yoga, something like that.
it is. It is considered that. It's considered to be a very advanced form because it takes into account not just asana, which is your physical body, which if you were to go to a yoga studio, most likely what they would be practicing is only 1 of 8. It's like 1/8 of what yoga actually is, according
The
to
stretching.
right.
Like that would be in
They're
a
just
Western
doing
yoga studio, right?
right, and they can do amazing things with their body, but that's not that's not really there's more to it than that. And so the Kundalini yoga, each set or everything that you do with that, every class is going to incorporate all 8 limbs. And, I won't go into all the limbs, but there's just a lot of aspects. But I guess the primary point, and you can probably relate to this if you've worked with Chi, right, through Japanese practices, that the navel point is very, very important. Is that also the case in your practice, in your lineage?
So that would
Mhm.
be Chi. Ki is how it's pronounced in
Oh,
Japan, or
okay.
Japanese. And my initiation into Ki would have been through studying Nihon Goshin Aikido.
Okay.
And in that case, yeah, the navel is extremely important because it's the center of gravity.
Mm-hmm.
And everything in Nihon Goshin Aikido is it's real tight, close circles. It's about blending and it's been called the art of doing nothing because you would never attack anybody.
Mm-hmm.
We learned the first thing the sensei taught me was how to not get in a fight. And then after that, it's like, you will be attacked. And what we do is blend and then just turn the energy back on the aggressor.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
started from sword fighting, but in Japan. But yeah, so like I said, Ki for me, I learned how to move Ki around in the sense that you would do it in Aikido. And yes,
Right.
the navel is extremely important, like I said, because it's the center of gravity.
Yeah. So that that connection of the navel point, we think of yoga as being something, otherworldly, or that we're attaining these higher, greater states of consciousness, which we are, but it's a very physical practice of grounding in our body. If we think astrologically about what's happening with Uranus moving into Gemini, that energy is very heady. It's very ungrounding, if you want to think of it that way. And so with Kundalini yoga, or what I do as far as that aspect is concerned, the physical component, working with chakras 1, 2, and 3, it starts at the rectum, it moves into the navel, it goes into the 3rd chakra, which is your will, it's your navel point. But the navel point is incredibly important. And so being in the physical body, being in the physical reality, if we're thinking about that from like a chironic, the material aspect, it's what allows you to stay grounded so that you can go into the much higher, greater realms without your nervous system exploding and, you going into some kind of schizophrenic overload, right? So the importance of grounding energy, and I know I sound like a total Taurus here, but the grounding of energy in the physical body is just as important in Kundalini yoga, but it is a highly advanced state of moving through consciousness or awakening consciousness within the individual, and it's yet very practical. So yeah.
Well, I just want to throw this in there
Yeah.
because you saying you sound like a Taurus and all like that.
Uh-huh.
And like, before you said that, I was already thinking about Omphale, which is in the Mythic Tarot, the Queen of Pentacles, Taurus. Omphale is omphalos, the Greek word for the navel.
What? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That's so cool. That's really cool. I love that connection. Yeah, right. And to be able to do that. So when I teach Kundalini yoga, I do it as a way for people to be able to contain the astrological energies, the etheric energies, and to ground those energies in a way that allows for a deeper embodiment of those energies within themselves, and that can then be turned and expressed outwardly to society, to their family, to, for their passion and creativity. And I have to mention that it works very closely on Shakti, where a lot of yogas don't, but it's working with that divine Shakti, divine feminine. If you think of it in Hindu terms, Shakti and Shiva, it's working on that energy to activate and channel it in a way that is, and this is moving into probably Vesta Hestia territory now, but it's channeling that energy and working with it in a very concentrated, disciplined way so that it doesn't have the destructive capacity that, sometimes when we get overloaded by even the collective energies or external energies in our lives, or we don't know how to transmute or transform our own emotional state or our own, mental capacities, that it brings into a discipline and an alignment, but it's not a repression of, it's a transmutation of energy into a way that ultimately brings one closer to wholeness in that Jungian kind of way, right? Or individuation, or I'm thinking of like the world card, right? Where then we are able to move through more cycles of development and consciousness in a way that when we lack that maybe attention or awareness, it's called the yoga of awareness and the yoga of transformation, because of, it is said that, a couple of weeks of Kundalini yoga is equivalent to a couple of years of Hatha yoga. And I'm not knocking Hatha yoga by any means, because that's how I started where I started. And it's, if I want to sit for a long period of time and do a lot of this deep pranayama, which is breath work, working with prana, life force, if I want to do that effectively, or I want to meditate for a really long time, I've got to be able to sit for a long time. And if I don't practice the stretching, the asana, then how can I do that? Right. So we can't reach the higher states unless we're grounded in the physical. And that's kind of going back to, I think, the Chiron, connection there too.
The animal half.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to be
Which
in our
humans are
body.
animal too, but humans are animals. But in this case, there's just a distinction between the animal side of our being and the spiritual side. It's sort of the human side of Chiron is sort of the pointing towards the higher spiritual aim, right?
Yeah. Right.
But to go back a little bit and just talk about with the omphalos, or the navel,
Yeah.
just being important for embodiment. And also it made me think about how the Aranes, or the Moira, are seen to weave the body's tissues together. They're weavers, right? The Atropos, Lechesis, and Clotho. They're like weaving the tissues of our body together. And of course, Atropos cuts the thread when that's the end of your life. So it's like the fate of the end of your life. But it just made me think of all that because of the association with the feminine, and like where we started really with talking about Demeter and Gaia, and like the earth and materiality, corporeality.
Right.
And so it sounds like with what you're talking about with Kundalini yoga and the navel, it's like you can't really, the danger is not being grounded, because we have to be grounded in this incarnation in this material world.
Yes.
Right. It's sort of like if you don't have a healthy ego, you can't even communicate with people. Like you're, well, you can communicate, but no one's going to like you. I mean, you're going to, you have to have a healthy ego. Right.
Right.
And that's not quite the same thing, because that's more of a mental thing. It's not so much embodiment, but I don't know. I'm just kind of regurgitating right now, vomiting up all the things that came to my mind while I was listening to you.
That's awesome. I love that, because it's in turn, I'm also thinking about just how, if Chiron is healing, if the nature of Chiron and the role of Chiron is connected to healing, then the importance of the physical body as an aspect of that. And, one of the three key, you've got the Ida, the Pingala, which the Ida is the masculine, the Pingala is feminine. So you have masculine and feminine, and these are the channels that are going through the central channel, or the Sushmana, I can never say that word. But it's Sushmuna, and the central channel of the spine. And when you combine
So yin yang?
yeah, right, right. And so you have the upward energy that wants to go up and transcend, and then the downward energy, which is pushing, obviously, it's a eliminative energy, and it's grounding in. And this kind of ties in with Kabbalah too, but you get that, again, the third, to go back to the Jungian idea of the transcendent function, but that third brings the healing or the wholeness. So that, yeah, the physical is very important. So is the spiritual. And I think Chiron speaks to that as well, with the healing nature of what we can do when we're willing to be in and of our body, not divorced from it. We're not trying to escape the physical world, right? Or the physical reality of life, or the mundane,
Right.
or the Saturn, but we want to elevate it.
And this goes back to an epiphany I had
Mm-hmm.
sometime like a year ago or something, about with working with the tarot and the
Mm-hmm.
elements and the earth element and the
Mm-hmm.
pentacles, and trying to figure out. I've had this conversation. I don't know that we've had this conversation on Chiron's Cave.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did in one of the early episodes, but
Mm-hmm.
about what it means that the earth element is represented as a pentacle,
Mm-hmm.
which is 5. When you think of earth, a lot of times you think of the square, which is 4.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
and so my question was always like, why is earth housed in the pentacle, and it's 5? Why isn't it the square? And it's because, the 5th element, right? Ether, like it's housed in earth, right? It becomes real
Uh-huh.
in the
Yeah.
earth element,
Right.
because without the earth element tying it all together,
Mm-hmm.
like, so the earth element ties all of the elements together and makes all of them real, because fire just floats away, air just blows away, water just dissipates, it just drops down and continues,
Mm-hmm.
of course earth doesn't go anywhere, right?
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. So what do you think about that in regards to then like charts where there is maybe we don't need to go in this direction, but I'm thinking about charts that don't have earth.
well, that's Wendy, my wife's chart.
Uh-huh.
She has Chiron in Taurus, right? But
Interesting.
so do I. I mean, that's a 5-year long, that's a generational
Right.
symbol, right?
Right.
For astrology. It's like it's an outer planet, basically.
Yeah.
But that's the only Earth she has, is Chiron and Taurus. So, but she also has. So my theory, and it's not my theory, I've heard it before from other people, is that like when you have a dearth of an element in your chart, you're either like stunted in that place and have to project everything to get it, or you're like or you're like a
embodied,
savant.
Yeah.
In it, like and I think for Wendy, she's definitely would be more of the savant. But also, like, I have a heavy Earth signature with Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn in Virgo. And then I have Vesta and Chiron and Taurus. And then curiously, Capricorn is vacant for me.
Right. Yeah. So the earth energy, it's easier to work with it consciously when it's present, but it can also, I've actually heard it expressed that sometimes the missing element can show up very strongly, almost to the exclusion of the other energies. It's almost like someone who doesn't have earth could come across incredibly earthy as a result, or that they could be almost hyper connected to, or in search of, or fixated on something around that.
That would kind of be saying the same thing as like projecting it, right? Because and that makes sense to me now that I'm thinking about it with Wendy, because like she was so drawn to me, and that may be part of the reason why, is because I have that Virgo stellium.
The earth, right? There's a the seeking out of the missing element kind of thing, unconsciously, or
But she's also very earthy in the sense of it's very important to her.
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
earth element.
Right.
But she
Yeah.
is very much air, fire.
Mm-hmm. Right.
She is a Scorpio, but that's like fire water.
Yeah.
Because she has a stellium in Libra, and then Mars, Neptune's in Sagittarius.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and then she just has Mercury, Uranus, Sun in Scorpio.
Right. In the
But
10th, right? Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
no Earth except for Chiron,
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
which is the
And
wound, right? That's the wounded place.
right.
So
And
I
so
mean,
that's where there's like the opportunity for healing too. That's where the earth energy can get connected and heal. And I think that it's that ability to maintain a flow between the mind, the mental, and the body. It's that flow between the two that I would think as well with even the myth of Chiron. It's like, how do we, whether it's missing, how do we account for that, or how do we connect to, because we all have bodies, so we all have earth. And I think
yeah,
that comes up in the Hillman essay. He actually, in one of his essays, in, I want to say it's the one with the mythic figures, because it's under the Gaia chapter. And he says that in his astrology, he does not have earth.
I
And
remember that. Yeah,
yeah, and so it's
he was
like,
born on an island that was like what in what was it? Was it like New
oh,
Jersey or something?
yeah, it was
Was it?
yeah, it was not
And
connected
it's
to
like
Earth.
floating. He mentioned it was like the Earth he was born on was like floating in the water or something like that.
Yeah, 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 exactly. So that, oh, I forget why I even brought that up. Hopefully it'll come back to me, because
Well, we were
it's
talking about not having elements, and that you were saying Hillman said he didn't have any Earth in his chart.
right. And that's the point he made was, we all have embodiment. We might not have it in our astrological chart, but how do we, and I almost want to say that if I'm remembering correctly, like he became fixated on earthy
Mm-hmm.
elements as a result, but or not as a result, but yeah, as a reflection perhaps. And so that being in the physical body, how do you establish that connection or maintain that connection? And I think that in general, some kind of physical practice, whether it's walking meditation or Kundalini yoga or lifting weights, or I mean, it keeps us grounded. And you practice, your physical aspect of that is your weaving, right?
Yep, splitting bamboo and kuzu, otherwise known as kudzu,
Mm-hmm.
and then weaving baskets. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
but also I'm a hobbyist, well, like a professional-ish arborist. Like
Mm-hmm.
I do arbory work for. It has to be the right tree, but I like to climb trees on a rope and with a chainsaw
Mm-hmm.
and take the tree down. I mean, it's not that I necessarily relish cutting trees down,
Mm-hmm.
as in I love trees.
Mm-hmm.
And I do find it ironic. I have a bamboo business and I cut trees down. It's
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's
oftentimes to
paradox.
make room for bamboo. That's typically like on my property, but
Yeah.
yeah. So that's another. I would say for me. It's like a pastime climbing trees on
Uh-huh.
rope.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And
Um,
I was going to ask if would your mandala be like a grounding practice for you that takes you higher at the same time? It's like it's
yeah,
grounding you while also elevating you in a way, to connecting those two maybe for
yep,
you. And I was
definitely.
going to mention earlier that yeah, you can order that through my
You,
website, the
you sure can.
susanreidastrology.com, but they still contact you, but you can see what's offered, what you offer on my website. So because it shows the mandalas, but yeah, so you have kind of you go into like a bit of a meditative. I don't want to speak for you or
Oh yeah, it's a
misspeak.
meditative
Mm-hmm.
state
Mm-hmm.
for sure. When I make one of those, because you have to.
Mm-hmm.
It's very meticulous. Using a compass,
Yeah.
and I have to do it in pencil because I've tried initially. I was like, I want to do this in pen, and I actually have a compass that can hold a pen. It's a drawing compass.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just one mistake and the whole thing's over. And I, like, after 20 times of being 2 hours into making a chart with a pen and then one mistake, and it's like, well, crumple that up and start all over again. I wasn't gonna, that's not sustainable. So then when he was like, oh, just get erasable pen, and I'm like, oh, okay, so we got erasable pens. Well, you can erase the ink, but it still leaves like a wet line in the paper that doesn't go away.
Yeah.
And my Virgo was not having that. So it's just, I have to do it in pencil, and then I go through with they're like paintbrush pens to color in, to put the color in. So you still end up seeing some pencil marks, but I think that's cool because you see the compass work.
Yeah.
It's the pencil mark that's left, but then you see the color is like is what really pops out.
Yeah. And in the meantime, the chart reveals itself to you, doesn't it? Sort of as you're creating it on a physical level.
Yes. Usually I start by doing the hand calculations for whoever I'm doing the chart for. I'll hand calculate the chart so I know where the planets are. But yeah, it is the meditative part for me, is because it's kind of slowly unfolds as I start putting the planets into the mandala, and then I'm looking for those geometric relationships to pop out at me to like to unveil and it tends to mostly be the asteroids, the big four in Chiron, that I sort of find the relationship that's big with those in respect to typically something in your nativity. And so then, like, what I have found that I kind of seem to do is find like a asteroid goddess message to sort of highlight.
Yeah, you definitely did that for me. And that the importance of Vesta at 25 degrees Leo, and the configuration with Neptune and my Mercury, Mars, but specific, like exactly Mercury. But that was really, really powerful to me. And so the connection to the goddess, like the astro-goddesses, and even coming even back full circle to Ceres, it's like, what do you think? Because something really kind of gift wise does resonate for you with like I perceive it as a gift with connecting the goddesses to astrology or your interpretive lens there. But not that you intentionally sought that out, but what do you think? You're interested in the goddesses, right? The mythical goddesses. And
specifically Athena for like, that's the goddess that I pay most attention to in my own personal spiritual practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then now Hestia, and of course Venus, the moon.
Right.
But of the asteroid, and Ceres, but of the asteroids, long term, it seems to be like number one for me is Athena, or Pallas.
Right.
And
the serpent driven chariot, your blog is that's Demeter, though. That's Ceres.
Yeah, and Persephone and Hades and Triptolemus.
Yeah, the whole crew is right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That started kind of for me with Triptolemus. And I saw myself as kind of taking on a Triptolemus role there with respect to bamboo and kuzu.
Okay.
Like, that's the work I'm doing for Demeter. And I don't understand it. And that's another thing I've had to work with in my own practices, is because I do have so much air. I want to understand everything and know why. And so much of this
and air is intellect, like, right? Air is intellect.
And so much of this work is learning how to kind of flow with the intuitive, and with the moon and her crew of asteroid goddesses in astrology, at least. It's like you have to be okay with not knowing in an air way, because it's water and it's intuitive, and that's anima. And so that's where my work with being in touch with anima and like developing that relationship, that lunar relationship and relation. So that led me to the asteroid goddesses, because as a gateway to further understand what that's about in a way that's kind of intellectual, right?
Right. So the I guess let me ask you this, and maybe your answer will be somewhat intuitive here. I'm not sure, but how do you feel like Ceres crossing over your moon helped you, or do you feel like it helped it? She
Yeah,
helped you.
I
Yeah.
think I wouldn't phrase it in helped me. I would
Okay.
phrase it in brought to my attention.
Okay. I like that. Okay.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
well, maybe I don't know. You said you didn't. You have your software right now, right?
Yeah, I do. Mm-hmm.
So when did Ceres perfect the transit to my moon? It
I can
was like
tell you
6 months
here.
ago or something, maybe.
I will find out. Let
And
me see.
I can kind
Hmm.
of
Yeah,
uh
while I'm tracking. Hmm.
to use the younger generation's old word. I can kind of rap on this a little bit.
Oh, it's not riff anymore. Okay, or
No,
I
I
guess
guess it's
it's
rap now.
singular is rap. Riff is between two, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
but anyway,
rapping. Like I heard that a lot at Firefly.
did you? Oh,
Yeah, I think that's like the cool word to use now. It
oh,
used to be cool, like I think in the '60s,
yeah,
to
yeah.
rap, and that meant to talk.
Uh huh.
Not
Oh, okay.
necessarily. Not it didn't in that context. It doesn't mean like with a beat, like hip hop
Uh huh.
rapping. It just means to talk about something. That's my
Right.
understanding.
Cool.
So
Oh,
yeah,
by the way,
so
Ceres will go retrograde and go back across your moon in 2026, early 2026. But I
yeah,
just
it's an ongoing thing, just like with Pluto for me.
right. Okay.
So,
So,
but I feel like it's like been the last. I mean, I would say it's kind of for me. It would be probably starting and probably an orb around the same time Pluto brought me to astrology to begin with.
okay. Okay.
I think that
Yeah.
they kind of go hand in hand. Which right, Pluto, Ceres,
Yeah.
Persephone, Triptolemus,
Mhm.
you know,
They're
Eleusinian mysteries. All that's all tied up. So like the
mhm.
Pluto thing happened at the same time as the Ceres thing is happening for me.
Mhm.
It's all happening,
Yeah.
and if you're cool, you know about it. Um,
Right.
so
Exactly. Yeah.
and for me, it is
We're
trying to
cool.
understand.
By the way, we're cool.
We are
Like
cool, yeah.
the
I
the
was
cool
not cool until like midlife, and all of a sudden, I'm all the rage. I'm just kidding.
It's true. Same thing for my interest in astrology, right? I was a weird outlier until then it hit a boom. But also Jung said, what did he say? Like life doesn't start until 40. Before that, it's just, what did he say? I can't remember. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
There's
I can put that into my own words. Life doesn't start until your Uranus half return,
yeah, that's good. That's really good. Yeah.
especially when Uranus ingresses into your ascendant.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, gosh, this is wild because Sirius is pretty fast moving. Um and and
Yeah, isn't her orbit
she
like
crossed
30 years?
so she
No,
was
it's like 5. Yeah, because
yeah.
Pallas is 5 years
Yeah, she was right on your moon June the 19th, 20th of June
of
this year.
2025.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I keep track of this stuff, and then, but it's like
Yeah.
you keep some track of things, and there's other
It's
things
a
to keep
lot to
track of,
keep
and then
track.
you
It's just,
forget about the things that
there's a lot to keep track of. Yeah, especially all the minutia of like minutes and hours and days. But yeah, Ceres hit your moon June 19th, 20th, and then now has gone on and then perfected her conjunction to your Ceres. But it wasn't too long ago. But yeah, so you feel like it brought awareness rather than quote unquote like help per se.
Well, I think it has to do with all those changes that I was talking about with the last lunar eclipse,
Uh-huh.
and also just my relationship to the moon in general, and it being one of the things I've wrestled with is the meaning of having an Aries moon to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a water like archetype in fire.
The moon, yeah, and fire, yeah.
Yeah, in Aries. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
how does that, it seems like a very uncomfortable place for the moon to be.
Mm-hmm.
And in
Mm-hmm.
my relation up to this point, my relation with people in my life, it's very much that's been the case. Like I've just very much been an outlier, marginal, kind of outcast, kind of misunderstood, kind of like just,
Mm-hmm.
you know, on my own kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Like a
Well,
like a
yeah, and Aries that fits with Aries and the like independent, emotional independence. But yeah, you make a good point about that, like the moon in the feminine sign and the moon in feminine placement in a masculine fire sign, my moon is in a masculine fire sign as well in Sag, even though my experience has not been feeling like well, actually, that's not true. I mean, in a weird way, because I have the moon and Uranus on my ascendant, although my ascendant is still in Scorpio and Uranus is still in Scorpio, it's late degrees, not far from the moon at 1 degree Sag. It's still, I've experienced myself as being very different from, and, outside of, and difficult. If the moon is where we belong, right, then where do we find where we belong on an emotional level, on an interior level, on a community level, when we have it in like that masculine fire? So that's kind of one element of it, right? And not necessarily feeling. So I can't say I've had a lot of friends, and like in the Vedic system, my moon is in Anuradha, which is like a very good nakshatra for friendship, but that's not the same as feeling like it's through difference. It's not often through sameness.
So, but you have a Uranus moon conjunction.
Yes.
So that means your moon and Uranus are one thing.
Right.
Right. So you can't talk about your moon without talking about Uranus.
Yeah, that's right. And so I can't really speak to what the nature of the moon energy in Sagittarius is, because it's inevitably influenced and conjoined with the energy of Uranus. So I don't really know. Yeah,
but Uranus is in Scorpio, right, for you?
Yeah, Uranus is in Scorpio at 29 degrees, but then my moon is at 1 degree. So it's very close by conjunction, but it's out of sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's interesting because Scorpio itself is an interesting sign because it is, like I say, it's like fire water. It's ruled by Mars. Mm-hmm. And it's like this water sign, but it's ruled by Mars, the god of war, and it's like water that'll cut you.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
It'll cut you and then drown you,
Yeah. Especially if the chart
and
ruler
then sting you.
Especially if the chart ruler is Mars and Aries, by traditional standards,
Right.
Like, oh, yeah. And I was like, why did you think that I was going to be evil Susan? Like, what?
Yeah, I was going to say that. Like in our beginning relationship, I was like, crazy Susan's going to come out. I know it. This is too good to be true. And I'm going to have this crazy woman I'm going to have to deal with.
I'm going to get cut and drowned.
Yeah.
Shit. That's
you
funny.
Scorpios, man. But I'm married to a Scorpio. So, I mean,
yeah.
I wasn't scared.
I mean, yeah. With an Aries moon, I mean, you weren't.
Right.
No.
I'm not scared of anything.
Yeah.
And that's true too. Like for my life, for the most part, I haven't been scared of anything, and especially not death. I've never been afraid of death. And I gravitated towards it. In fact, intentionally, when I was in my 20s, I went to be a medic. I wanted to be a medic.
Yeah.
And work on an ambulance because I wanted to see death. I wanted to stare it in the eye. And I did that.
To overcome it? Was it like a Carlos Castaneda kind of thing?
I had to. It's like, it's just consciously, it was because I wanted the experience to write about, because I've always been a writer. So when I made the decision to go be a medic, it was because I wanted to get the experience for writing fiction specifically back then. But, looking back, I mean, yeah, I've always been which is why I've struggled ongoing with my sun Merc in the 8th or 9th house, right? Difference between equal house 8th and then Placidus whole sign 9th. It's made sense to me that it was 8th because of my fascination with death. And so I mean, and honestly, I don't know why I was so drawn to that. Because if you look at my nativity and say you don't put the 8th house emphasis with the sun, Mercury, so it's in the 9th, right? My 8th house is vacant. And it's Capricorn. So ruled by Saturn, which is associated with death for sure. But
Saturn in the 4th of endings and end of life, and also with Mars, the malefic, there's a connection there for sure. Yeah. With just the ruler of the 8th house, the empty 8th house. Yeah.
Right. Which you wouldn't think you'd have an accent in 8th house matters, right? With a vacant. I mean, because that's the planet's, everybody has everything in there. We all have everything, right? Like
Right.
like when we were talking earlier about how when you don't have Earth, well, everyone has 3 Earth signs in their chart,
Yeah. Right.
right? I mean, they may be vacant, but still,
They have
it's a
areas of
whole,
life. They have houses. They have areas of life. They have,
right? And
yeah,
you just
rulers of
gotta,
those.
yep,
Hmm.
and you gotta look to the rulers of those,
Hmm.
houses slash signs to figure out what's going on in those places. But still, you have Earth. So
Hmm.
I forget what I forget. Where was I
I
going?
think you were talking about like eighth, ninth house system with different house systems. It's like
Yeah, my
trying to
fascination with
understand.
death, pretty
Yeah, yeah.
much.
I mean, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's, you're not alone in that in terms of where, I mean, I'm thinking of my daughter who is also an Aquarius, same degree as you, but has Pisces eighth house placements. And as a baby, I was like, what in it's either seventh or eighth, house, but her interest in like zombies and apocalypse and vampires, like all of it, it's like got that dark. And I'm like, I knew I shouldn't have watched, what was it? Oh God, it was some horror series that was on. I don't know when I was pregnant for what. I was not, I'm like, I'm a sweet little Taurus, but clearly I was like watching some horror stuff while I was pregnant with her. But anyway, yeah, she's got that. And it's like, is it seventh? Is it eighth? But there's got to be, I mean, for whatever reason, on a soul level, you can probably see where, especially if that south node is in the eighth house, and
Hmm.
that I'm convinced. And I
It
think
wouldn't be though. My south node is ninth in
it's
all of them.
always ninth. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Because it's 29 degrees.
Oh,
So
right.
it's at the
Okay.
very end of Aquarius.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's so, yeah. But
But yeah, but I could also say that my natal Pluto is 5th house for me.
so
So
your idea of a good time is like
yeah,
dark,
looking at dead
disturbing.
people, like, yeah, and seriously, when I was working EMS, like my
Mm,
coworkers thought I was crazy, and that's saying a lot because people who are drawn to EMS are already a little off kilter. To
yeah.
want to do that job and get paid peanuts,
Yeah.
because you get paid peanuts to do it,
Yeah.
and to
Yeah.
want to do it and to spend time going to school and studying and putting up all the bullshit you got to put up with to like get a job working on an ambulance, and then
Yeah.
to go do that work, you're not right in the head. And
Yeah.
to have that crew looking at me and being like, this guy ain't right in the head, like,
Yeah. Right. Well, I
because I
mean,
was just so into like looking at death.
yeah. Yeah. Well, how do you feel about that confession that you just
I don't have a problem with it. I mean,
I'm just kidding.
it's
I
just,
totally. Yeah. Well, my sister works in, she does like, so, well, that reminds me also Stephen King's chart, which, because
oh
like you
yeah.
said, you did it for fiction. And I think that there's a lot of cases where whatever that reason or whatever that, I'm going to call it taboo, because it's not that it's,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the Buddhists would say that you're quite advanced, right? Because you think about death every day. Like if you think about death every day, you're supposedly able to really live and be in the present in a way that allows you to enjoy life and be, so it's not that there's
Mm-hmm.
anything wrong with thinking about death, but it's just so outside of the societal norm that you appear
Mm-hmm.
odd or you appear weird, or it's like, is there something, even with like, Stephen King's chart. And I was talking to somebody at a pool party last week about this, because they were saying, it's really hard to imagine that people who have this kind of imaginative faculty, that they don't have skeletons in the closet, literally somewhere, and was the case with Stephen King's chart, if you remember it enough to say what you found interesting about it.
Oh, I couldn't at this
No,
point. No,
okay.
I'm not
I
going to
know it was
remember.
interesting to you at the time, but
Yeah, that
I
during the
still haven't.
ESAR exam. That's
Yeah, and I still
I,
haven't looked him up. I need to do that, because it would be interesting to kind of see like who takes those kind of maybe the darker impulses or archetypes of humanity, because we all, whether we repress them or we dive into them, it's like that is a facet and aspect. Saturn is a facet and aspect of existence, in reality. But it's like, who does that and transforms it into a career
yeah.
like
If
that.
I wish I could speak to it, but it
Hmm.
was the ESAR exam. It was
Yeah.
the second to last question, the
Yeah.
penultimate question, and it was an
Yeah.
essay question, and I had to analyze Stephen King's chart and answer a bunch of questions about it.
Right.
And it was like, I remember writing, one of the questions was like, what in this chart shows that Stephen King would become a successful writer? And like, I answered the question. It was like a paragraph long, and then at the end I was just like, everything in his chart, basically. Like, it's like everything in his chart says he will be a successful writer. Like, it's just in one of
Wow.
those charts. It's like, you can't
Huh.
make it up,
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
really, really, really obvious to me.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I love the specificity of that as well as a question, because I think it's a client question that can come where they might say, "Hey, I want to do this. I want to do this X, Y, or Z." And you look at their chart and there's nothing that conveys that that's going to be. And this is pre-Saturn return. And there's a lot of conditioning or societal like projection by parents about what they should be, who they should be. Say they're, I'm thinking of a client that was in nursing, but did not have the chart at all of what would normally signify those
I had one
that.
like that
Yeah, and so it's
on
like,
nursing too, specifically.
really? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. One, and she ended up, I'm not trying to talk her into doing anything, right? Because that's not what we do.
Yeah.
But
I
I'm
didn't either.
watching, yeah, I'm watching her process though, where like certain awareness around her chart could give her unlock the freedom to then choose a different direction if intuitively she knew that it was not in alignment with what her, her purpose was, or her soul's path or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Um, but yeah, it's just interesting to think about what we can see in a chart when I like being asked direct questions when somebody comes to a consultation. And I know
Oh,
we talked
yeah.
about this too, where it's like, it's so much
That's easy.
easier.
It's
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. Because
Because then you
otherwise
can just, yeah.
it's like, they're like, here's my soul. Tell me what I need to
Yeah.
know. And
Exactly.
it's, well, what do you need to know in this time and place? Well, transits are helpful. Time lords are helpful. There's a lot that can be helpful as far as, well, I'm going to take a stab at this and hope my intuition guides me to what you need to hear today, but not as a psychic, but as just an intuitive, human being who knows how to use this language to give some kind of, uh, hopeful insight.
Yeah. That
Mhm.
reminds me of Stephen Arroyo's. I think he wrote about that, about how, like, what there are people who are psychic, right, who can use astrology and combine their psychic ability to
Mhm.
like make these bomb diggity ass predictions that come true or whatever.
Mhm.
But he was like, for the rest of us, it's like you have to spend so much energy and time to try to do something like that. It's just not worth it. Like, you shouldn't even try, because I
Right.
mean,
Mhm.
overwhelmingly, and for me too, overwhelmingly, I'm not concerned with predicting things with astrology. I'm not
Mhm.
trying to tell you when it's going to rain, or when we're going to have World War III, or when you're going to
Mhm.
heal from something. Or I mean, I'm not saying
Mhm.
that's all valid. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying, for
Mhm.
me personally, I'm just not interested in that.
Right. Right. And I think you made a point not too terribly long ago that when you get the symbolism correct, when you speak to the inherent, I guess, mandala of the soul, or that is the soul, and you bring that awareness into the individual or help with offering that, that the answers take care of themselves, that the person knows intuitively what direction they need to go in based on a true understanding of themselves. Like in Kundalini, it's the Sat Nam, the true self. Because if we're using this astrology mandala chart as a reflective tool to understand the self, then the more that we understand ourselves, the less we have to get those answers about what's going to happen, next year, or like, we don't need those answers as much because we're being guided by that lighthouse within the self that just knows intuitively and can trust the process. It's like you mentioned earlier about, we don't always have to know what it means or where it's going to go when we trust ourselves. And we know ourselves, because that whole adage of like, to know thyself, it's everything, right? And magic, and in platonic thought, and it's everything. It's the foundation of all knowledge and philosophy of self or world. But anyway, I guess I'm getting off on a tangent, but it's, I think,
Well,
like, yeah.
so one thing I thought there was with
Hmm.
I think it was the Nietzsche. I
Hmm.
think Nietzsche said it was,
Hmm.
and I'm just paraphrasing. Like, be careful, like, when you stare into the void, because it will stare back.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
my feeling that I've had with astrology.
Hmm. Yeah.
The more
Yeah.
you look at it, the more it looks back.
Right. Yeah.
And so it becomes a positive feedback loop,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you can
Yeah.
ride that wave,
Right.
and
Absolutely.
it's going to take you somewhere that, you may have ended up, maybe that fate's already there in the chart too, and you would have ended up there already anyway, but I don't think
Mhm.
that's the case.
Yeah,
I
because
think it's malleable.
well, and that ties in with a vast, fascinating subject that has become very popular, but also on a much deeper level, and it's touched on in the Chiron LaGrice book, that the what's it called, archetypal astrology. Is that, or am I
The
thinking of
archetypal cosmos.
archetypal cosmos? Yeah, but the quantum field, the quantum mechanical aspect of existence. And when you talk about malleability, I think some of that is connected to how energy fields work. Rick Levine does a July forecast, and he talks about how I thought it was really interesting, because he's saying that in July of this year, what's happening is that there's this, it's not a preview, but it's a being pulled into the future, from a future that already exists, that could actually be altering. The future can be altered retroactively. It's a concept in quantum mechanics called retro. I forget the second part of that, but that idea that the future and the past are somewhat malleable, like you said, and
Mm-hmm.
that what we're doing here in the present can greatly affect beyond just the causal. It's retro causality was the term, but that what we're
Hmm.
doing is, it's impacted not just through cause and effect of, well, what I do today obviously is going to affect what happens tomorrow, but that there's a much more sophisticated causal relationship between the past and, or the present and the future, that in real time is unfolding both ways. And I think that's kind of an interesting point of thought too, with regards to even the psychic. So I got a Vedic. I told you I've had 2 Vedic readings like in the last year and a half, because I was studying Vedic a little bit more as I was going deeper into Kundalini yoga. And so one of the readers and I don't really believe this is true, I don't know, I'll have more will be revealed, but he said, do you realize that you're psychic? And I was like, I don't really think, no, I don't think so. And he said, yeah, you use the astrology as almost like a front. And I don't know that I agree with it, but I have had a lot of clients say to me, you told me that this was going to happen on this day or this way or this time frame, and it did happen, and it's amazing. And with tarot cards, that's something happening too, but I don't think it's psychic. I think it is, I've always I've always attributed this to the astrology, that there is an ability to be predictive, right? With astrology. Now, whether you want to do that or not, when you do have the symbolism and you have the timing techniques or rhythms down with cycles, and you've seen enough uh, through experience, then you can kind of take a stab and say, well, based on the context of your life and your situation, there's a good chance it will play out like this, or and that you can be accurate there, but that isn't necessarily the goal of what you're trying to facilitate for a client, right?
I think what you're saying is that there's a difference between being psychic and then using divination and being good at it,
Uh-huh. Okay,
right? And
yeah,
you're
yeah,
divining, right? So
right.
so
Mhm.
that the
Ninth
astrology is the
house.
thing that's psychic, or
Mhm.
the tarot, that's
Right.
the thing that's psychic, and you're just
Yes.
divining with it.
Right,
Whereas a
exactly.
psychic is like, I just can know. Like, I don't even
Right.
need to use this proxy to
Right.
communicate.
Right. And so if you're not divining as an astrologer, are you really an astrologer in some way? Not that you're having to divine future, but that you're using astrology for the sacred tool that it is in its relationship to the greater connection between the individual and the cosmos, right?
So I look at this as like a priestess or priest, in my case, in your
Mhm.
case, a priestess like
Mhm.
way, right?
Mhm.
Like you're operating like a priestess in that you're using this spiritual, religious,
Mhm.
not religious, whatever
Mhm.
system of divination. Like
Mhm.
if you think of like
You could call it.
the Pythia, right, of
Mm.
at Delphi, right,
Right. Uh-huh.
at
Nice.
Apollo's oracle, essentially.
Yeah. Very
You
nice
know,
example. Uh-huh.
yeah, they're not, you know, it's not them that they're just informing, right? They're
They're
just passing the message,
delivering. Yes. Yeah.
right? They're the
Yeah.
messenger. They're
Right.
used as a vessel for this message to come through.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I guess it's a slippery slope, right? Because how is it, when is it psychic and when is it just divination?
Right, right. Yeah. And my explanation is always I have intuition. If you have I mean, the moon in Sagittarius is sort of fire is known to be intuitive elementally, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a different kind of intuitive than say
Water.
water. What do you think about that with fire, moon, and the
Yeah,
difference
I've thought
between?
about that because
Uh-huh.
especially with the tarot, working with the elements, and then like seeing where fire will be is considered like creative and,
Mm-hmm.
and intuitive and inspirational, but then like also water's got some of that. It's like
Yes.
intuitive
Uh-huh.
too, and
Uh-huh.
creative and
Uh-huh.
inspirational. Like it's like
Mhm.
so I guess maybe the best way to look at that is like an axis, right? Because
Uh-huh.
fire and water oppose. No, they square. Yeah, they don't oppose. Water, because
Uh-huh.
fire and air oppose each other,
Uh-huh. Okay.
right? And we talked about that too in the very first podcast we did that
Yeah.
the void of course moon took away,
Right.
or my hubris took away from us because I thought
Yeah.
we could do this on a void of course moon. We could start it. We could
The
plan it.
ether.
We could not only start it, we could plan it while the moon's void of course and then proceed to go on and do it. I think that was the case there.
Right. Yeah. Well, and we'll see because we started this before the void of course, but we are in void of course waters now. So fingers crossed.
But
Yeah.
we planned it and started it beforehand.
Yeah. Just like
But
Mercury retrograde. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
because we're trying to get some content before Mercury retrogrades.
Right. Yeah.
It's very active right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but to answer that question, it's one thing. I guess I have pondered it myself, and I don't know that I've come up with an answer to it. It's
Mm-hmm.
definitely kind of mysterious to me. Yeah, and the symbolism between water and fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you come to any conclusions about that?
I think I think fire is a generative, like creative, intuitive,
Oh yeah,
and
masculine,
yeah. So there's like,
yang,
yeah, that's like it's like the
yin and
yang,
yang.
yeah, it's like yang intuition versus like maybe
Yeah, there you go.
yin intuition. Would you say that might? Yeah,
Yeah,
because yeah, yeah.
and I would also say that, which reminds me of something else that I wanted to talk about, which is something that kind of came to light for me in this last basket class
Mm-hmm.
at Firefly,
Mm-hmm.
which was the best class that I've ever taught, hands down. Like those women, there was one man, but he was just there for day one.
Mm-hmm.
The rest were women.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like every one of them made an unbelievable basket. And that's never happened in any of my classes. So,
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So that was awesome. And thank you to all the women who attended, if any of you are listening to this. But one of the things that came to light for me, which is something that I've kind of known, but it just emphasized even more this time, was the nature, the yin yang nature of kuzu in bamboo.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized was that by working with those two materials, you come to understand yin and yang better by weaving them together, because they really are like the plant versions of yin and yang, at least in basketry. Yeah, as plant fibers. Like they're so opposite one another, right? The kuzu's like, it's softer, you just can tear it apart with your hands, but it's all like wild, like the fibers are like, they're it's like windblown hair, curly hair that's just, you can't contain it. And it's like it ties the bamboo up, and then like bamboo's like, it's hard and erect, phallic, and like you got to use knives and you get cut and you get splinters, and it's like blood is drawn.
Very Mars, yeah.
And oftentimes, I mean, I'm all the time getting cut, I'm getting splinters. Blood is, I've got baskets that I've made with my blood on them. My knives have blood in the handle, like, because it's so common for me the bamboo will cut me though. Right. Occasionally I'll fuck up and cut myself on the knife. But for the most part, I'm advanced enough now where I've been doing it long enough where I can not cut myself on the blade anymore. The bamboo though is where I get cut now, because the edges, when you split bamboo, it has a lot of silica in the skin and they're very sharp. The Native Americans made knives out of bamboo. So
really,
yes, you can make a razor sharp knife just with bamboo.
Wow.
And you can gut and skin an animal. Like you can prepare a full animal using a bamboo knife for the table. So so yin and yang, and like I kind of knew it, but just in teaching this class, I just really was emphasized.
Yeah.
And I think it may be because so many of the students were like, they got it. Like I said it in the beginning of the class, this is very yin and yang. This is and I've said that before in class, but now I'm realizing that that's part of the work that I'm doing. Almost, it's like showing that in a way with nature, like bringing what yin and yang is to people so that they can know it themselves better.
Well, that's interesting parallel. That's an interesting parallel to work with Kundalini yoga, because, and one of the major traditions of lineage that Kundalini yoga is derived from is tantric. So, and in tantra, tantra means to weave. And so that masculine and feminine with the channel, that we were talking about with, the Ida and Pingala and the energy channels, and basically weaving the disparate energies or the union of opposites together in a way that's going to bring wholeness. And so when you say weaving and then even going to Athena, which I think we've touched on this a little bit, but like the nature of what Athena is and how she is connected to, weaving in general, but how are we doing that in both very literal ways, but also symbolic and inner ways within our psyche and our energy, our electromagnetic field, our energetic fields. Yeah.
And in this case, like you're literally weaving nature together. You're weaving two, because in my class, like I have to supply the bamboo, but me personally, I have to split it all. I have to provide the yang. The yin, though, I provide the whole vine, and then overwhelmingly let the women learn, like process their own kuzu and learn how to handle that plant, so that you can leave the class and that you can't go and make a kubu basket on your own, but you can leave my class and go make a kuzu basket on your own after one class, because you learn how to process it. And but the exercise though of weaving, literally weaving together those materials into a container, which itself is a feminine thing.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Right.
It's been pretty powerful for me. And then the other thing that emerged is a catchphrase of mine, apparently, which is, you can do whatever you want. I kept saying that over and over again. And women love it when a man tells them that, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
It was commented. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Do you know how connected that is to the Arthurian legend of Lady Ragnell and
no.
Yeah,
I should know that, but
I was just reading about this the other day about how it was one of Arthur's knights. What's his name? I got to look it up because I can't tell the story without
Galahad.
It's who Lady Ragnell ends up marrying.
Darwin?
Sir Gawain. Yeah. So Sir Gawain and Dame Ragnell. So yeah, it's the 15th century English poem about how and what. So what happens is there's kind of a dark, like evil knight. I forget. What's his name? Anyway, he's waiting in the forest one day and he sees Sir Gawain or Arthur, I'm sorry, and he was gonna kill him, but he gives him his life and he says, you have a year to figure out what women want most and I won't kill you. But so during the course of that year, and he says, and if so he during the course of the year, he basically tries to figure out what women want, and he interviews all these different people and he gets all these different answers. And then at some point he goes to this sort of wretched looking, distorted, what you consider like really ugly Lady
A hag.
Ragnell, a hag. And, through her, he's able to discern that if, and if he can figure out the right answer, then he'll get to, she says, if I give you the right answer, then I want to marry one of Arthur's knights. And so, but the long story short of it is that what women truly want, because he tells her on the wedding night, she marries, Ragnall marries Gawain, and on the wedding night, she says to him, she reveals to him basically that she can be beautiful with him at night and ugly by day, or she can be ugly with him and beautiful out in public. And he says, well, it's up to you, whatever you choose. And so you can do what you want. And so
Yeah.
by giving her that answer, it's revealed, the answer is revealed that what women most want is sovereignty over their own life and their own existence. And so when he gives her that, it redeems her and she becomes beautiful all the time.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
that opens her up and frees her up.
Hestia.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really kind of beautiful. Although I did think of the irony a little bit of like a man giving her that permission to do whatever she wanted.
Right.
But I do think it speaks to a little bit of like the healing of the male female dynamic too, because it's like, if we are going to be in relationship with the masculine, we need to be, like you said, I provided the yang. Like there is a certain kind of necessity, and I'm talking about energy. I'm not talking about literal men and women, but the male female, if they're going to be in union or even integrated within the psyche or the person, it may not even be external relationships, but it's like there is a need for both, that we need the yang. And if that is given to the feminine, and that freedom and autonomy is given, and that sovereignty is given to the feminine, then she can really like blossom and create and do amazing, incredible things with that, So, and then the gratitude that she had for that was in the end, like an absolute gift to Sir Gawain.
Right. Here, I'm going to be divinely beautiful for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because because you're, I gotta be careful how I word it. Not allowing.
Right.
But at the same time, like you say, wholeness,
respecting.
honoring,
It's a respect and an honoring and absolutely. Right.
But the two things are like yin and yang are different, right? They're not, they make a whole. Mm-hmm. And when man and woman come together, and again, I'm going to get in trouble because I'm saying man and woman in this current climate.
Right.
It's like,
masculine, feminine.
But I mean, I don't want to be crude and be like, when the dick in the vagina. Because that's even worse. Right. I just need to stop talking now. Because I've already just put the shovel down, Aaron. Put it down.
Now you're just being dirty. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, right?
No, but I know what you're saying. Yeah. But the union of opposites, like we can talk about it in Jungian terms, that the union of opposites in order to,
Well, and I can also just say, like, literally the case was I provided the yang because with splitting bamboo, that's not something I can teach people in a weekend. Like, and it's not something I can teach a group. It's something I have to have one-on-one. Really, it's a one-on-one so that I can make sure you don't go to the hospital, because those are the stakes, right? It breaks all knife safety rules. The traditional way to split bamboo, you hold a blade that's razor sharp, and you push the bamboo into the blade with your other hand. So, and there's resistances that are met, and oftentimes you read it and you're trying to get through it, and then pop, and then you're going to the hospital. And I've seen that happen. So it's like, in order for my students to make a kubu basket, I have to do. And of course, the work I brought was like 50 hours of hand splitting work that I brought to this class to give to people to make a kubu basket with. So again, just necessity of time.
Yeah.
But my point is, I provide the yang element.
Right. Right. And that's the important facet, is that we can all have our own, we can all provide. This was something that came from the Authentic Relationships modules, the 4th of 5 modules for level 2 for Kundalini yoga training. But it's like we all can provide our own structure. We can all provide our own yang. But there's also times when we are in one polarity, we need it to be provided for us until we hold that ourselves. And so we are always cultivating both in a sense, or the balance between, or the balance of both. For example, if I have a Kundalini class, I have to hold space. And we're talking about masculine energy of holding space. That's what women love. Like if women want a container, or they want a structure, right? And I don't want to speak for all women again, but it's like
you're a woman, you can speak for you.
The feminine really needs, we'll put it that way, the masculine structure, if you think of it that way. And so it's not that a woman can't have her own structure. If I'm teaching a class, I need to provide the yang, because I need to be able to hold the masculine space for a class. Anytime you're teaching, you're having to hold space for the students, and then allowing them to, but in terms of masculine and feminine, interplay, that's also an important element. And if you are, I can't help but hear like the protective and the provider energy. You're literally providing materials, you're protecting people, not just women, but whoever's showing up in the yin energy to receive that, because they're receiving the teaching or teachings. Right. And then they need to be protected and provided for, and they need to have the space and the facility. And so by doing that, it's not that you're being like a chauvinist, but you're providing something for them so that they can flower in a capacity of creativity, which is again Ceres and that creative fecundity and generative energy of the feminine, right? To make a basket, to create a baby, to, whatever it is that we're creating, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then to be told you can do whatever you want. And it's interesting because the way it was received, because a lot of times things will just go over my head. Now I'm just doing what I do. I'm teaching the way I teach, and I've got all these different people and their energy and what they need and want and what they're thinking. And I can't take everybody's on at the same time. So I just have to kind of keep going with, what the program is.
Right.
And it just happens to be in the type of the style I teach. There are a couple rules, but there's not many rules. Like one, you have to have an odd number of stakes or spokes or warp pieces when you start this basket. You have to have an odd number. That's a rule, because otherwise you're not going to make a basket. So there's the dogma. Like,
I remember that.
And then after that though, go ahead and show the people that again.
This is, that was the first basket I ever tried to make. So,
So, it looks like a pretty,
houses the tarot.
Yeah, it's useful. It looks like a great basket.
Yeah.
So I kept saying over and over again to these women, like they would come to me and like, how do I do this part? And I go, well, this is kind of what I would do, but you can do whatever you want. Like, it's and I kept saying, there's only a few things where it's like, this is functional and you got to do this for a functional reason. But then after that, it's just aesthetics. What do you want to see? Yeah. What do you want to look at when you look at this basket?
Right.
And and apparently it was kind of, for some of the women, it wasn't received very well initially. And they were kind of
like, they felt
almost,
you weren't supporting their process.
Yeah, they were almost, it was almost like they got, I didn't see anybody get mad or anything.
Right. They felt a little bit left out in the cold, kind of like abandoned or something. Like, well,
yeah. And then they had to kind of go back into the corner by themselves and figure this shit out. Right. And they figured it out.
Right. Right.
And then they appreciated. And they came to me and they said, at first it was like, I need the structure. Like, I need help. Please, tell me what to do. And I kept being like, well, you can do whatever you want. And it wasn't like I just said, oh, you can do whatever you want. Right. I mean, I would be like, this is what I would do, but then, you can do it this way, you can do it that way. Like, there's all kinds of ways. Like, there's no rules.
That's beautifully tied in with the animus. Like, because you didn't pretend to that animus energy of having an opinion, having a directive, having a clear, like, you should do it this way. It was probably very allowed the animus within the feminine to develop, because it out of necessity and struggle, and
because they couldn't project it on,
right,
use me to catch it.
They wanted to hear a voice telling them you should do it like this, this, and this. And then that freedom created anxiety, because it's like, what if I don't have the animus? What if I don't have the correct way to do this. And then they found it. They had to find the animus. And then they were proud of themselves because they had that, they developed that solar energy, right? I created this, Yeah.
And then I can't tell you how many times, like the day after, those women came up to me and just were like, "Oh, I can't stop looking at this basket. I love this basket so much." And like, thank you. And just,
yeah.
So it's really beautiful, the whole thing.
Yeah. And the development, I love even the connection or the symbolic significance of the connection to the self or the creative aspect of being proud of something. Like it's a nice feeling to, I don't know why it's not a painting. It's not an irrational thing. It's like it is an aesthetically true creation. And I do think it does move into primal, it's like, I was proud of my basket and I was like, there is a certain kind of attachment to what is created on that level. So yeah, definitely.
And in that class, right, you didn't even do the processing of the kuzu yourself.
And they did at the Firefly.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
cool.
brought like,
that's wild.
I don't even know, but 150 feet of vine, and taught them how to process the kuzu themselves.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then just, so that element too on top, right? Because that's the whole, I'm interested in teaching you how to fish. Not just give you a fish. And the class that I teach on my own is Carolina Bamboo has mostly just been giving people fish because time.
Yeah.
Because really it's 10 hours. I need 10 hours. If you're going to process the kuzu on your own, then the class needs to be 10 man hours, right? To finish a basket around that. And even then it's not enough time sometimes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was really cool. Like seeing it, just all those beautiful baskets, and like all of them succeeded. All of them made awesome baskets that they loved, that I was proud of as the instructor. It made me look really good for the first time. I was like, because so many times, like out of 10 people, 2 or 3 maybe complete a basket. But this was like everybody completed it, and they were awesome. So I finally, it was like I felt validated as an instructor, because when they don't complete them and then people just give up and they can't, I feel like it's me, like I'm the problem, like I'm not a good enough instructor, and that's why you couldn't pull it off.
Right. Yeah. That's wild. So there was like a synthesis between your development as maybe a guide and a facilitator, and then the product that was created. Yeah, I love that.
They kept showing them off to their friends and being like this is the first basket I ever made, and that's thanks to him. You facilitated it. You with your guidance, I was able to do this.
Right.
And so often my guidance was, do whatever you want.
Do what you want, but you still got the credit. Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's kind of like what makes great creative children is, within a contained, structured space, do whatever you want, because then the soul knows how to play or create or, develop within. I think that's really, really cool. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm feeling like,
is it time?
That's the end of this one, huh?
Yeah, it is. I suppose. I've got to do a deep dive into this because I pulled this one face down before we started, and I was like, there must be some kind of deeper significance to the 7 of Wands that I haven't, like, I don't. I'm gonna more will be revealed. But anyway, this is between
us.
Yeah,
because that card from the beginning of our relationship for me came up.
Yeah.
The 7 of Wands was like central to what we're doing.
Yeah. So exactly. And it's come up multiple times. So it just came up for today, and this has been awesome. So it's like whatever that 7 of Wands energy is, I think, speaking of fire, intuitive fire, that it's very developmental. I really feel like that's, but anyway, because this was good development of our conversation, and my headphones are doing something weird, but.
Oh. Yeah, anyway. I think that, and not to keep the conversation going, but I feel like it's like I see it as we're a team, right? So we're Jason and who is it in there?
Medea.
Who? But in that card it's Jason, and who are the other figures in the? I'd have to look because
I gotta look.
Is it Heracles and I think Theseus is in that with him.
Yep.
And then is it let me see close up? Yeah, that looks like Heracles.
Theseus. Yeah, that's the later King of Wands back there too. Is it King?
And I think King Aedes is
Okay.
fighting. Anyway, yeah, it's
Yeah. But there's a lot of active yang fire, but toward something, toward So
and we can go into we have
got another
more to come.
more to come.
So bye everybody.
Bye.